Thank you very much, Luanda, Mr. Speaker of Council, my colleague, my legal advisor, Tony, Kevin, our Chief Whip of Council, fellow the MMCs, councillors, the round officials of the city of Johannesburg, members of the media, good morning, and thank you so much for making the time to be here with us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I've called this press conference to inform the residents of Johannesburg and South Africa in general of a disturbing trend that represents a profound abuse of power by those in provincial and national government. The reality is that the work we are doing in Johannesburg threatens the survival of the ANC government. The profound failures and service delivery backlogs have been exposed and are being turned around progressively by this new multi-party government. The elaborate network of fraud and corruption is being hunted down and laid bare for all of you to see. How else could it be described when 6 members of former mayoral committee, including former executive mayor, have been implemented in wrongdoing? The taps of money that flowed to politically connected companies and then back to their party coffers are being closed off. And this poses a real threat to the ANC government. It is no secret that the ANC, both locally and elsewhere, has attempted to collapse this multi-party government by any means possible. The ANC in Johannesburg has made use of allied unions, temporary workers, and motions of no confidence to try and collapse this multi-party government. They used officials appointed through the Al-Qaeda deployment policy to destabilize our government. They attempted to collapse council meetings by walking out of council or simply not showing up like they did at the last council meeting. When we started insourcing 4,000 security guards in Johannesburg, improving their take-home salary by minimum of 50% and offering them benefits they never had before, it was the ANC who came to the defense of security tenderpreneurs and attempted to undermine this process. Nepotism and greed were placed ahead of the insourcing of these poor employees. You also need to look no further than what has been happening in Alexandra over the past week. Let me be clear. The people of Alexandra have many legitimate and long-standing grievances about their lived experiences. I care personally deeply about these conditions and how people of Alexandra have been lied to for many years. For over 2 years, the Speaker and I have engaged former MEC Paul Mashatile and Premier Makura about the funding that was supposed to be made available to execute the Statement of Intent and the Alexandra Renewal Project. Unfortunately, no answers have ever come out of this attempt. Yesterday, I wrote to President Ramaphosa and requested confirmation by end of today that his visit tomorrow should be an intergovernmental engagement with the community, not the planned political rally it is. Local and provincial and national government must stand side by side and account to the people of Alexandra. I await his response. I'm committed to engage the community of Alexandra on Monday the 15th of April 2019 to hear their concerns against the backdrop of a discussion about the city's budget and plans. On Friday this week, I will be engaging councillors from the respective political parties in Alexandra so that we can remove the politics from the equation and proceed to engage the community as public representatives. And I'm glad that the South African Human Rights Commission has agreed to attend this session as observers. I'm committed to cutting through the political election campaigning on this matter and engage the ordinary residents of Alexandra to hear their grievances. Ultimately, the plans of this multi-party government will be informed by this. Unfortunately, this is politics and it reveals the true nature of the ANC, a party that is desperate to hold on to power and access to state resources by any means necessary. As its efforts to collapse these administrations have failed, the ANC has now resorted to a far more sinister strategy, something I've come to describe as weaponization of the state against the city of Johannesburg. And I'd like to repeat this. Something I have come to describe as the weaponization of the state against the city of Johannesburg. This term describes the systematic approach in which spheres of government, Chapter 9 institutions, and law enforcement agencies are being used to wage a political war against the enemies of the ruling party. In this case, the multi-party of the city of Johannesburg, which I lead. It speaks to how these institutions have been politically captured to deliver on the objectives of the ANC, rather than acting in the best interest of the people of this city and the country at large. It started, ladies and gentlemen, with ESCOM in early 2017. Within 6 months of us taking over office, we received notice from ESCOM that it would be ending a funding agreement it had with the city of Johannesburg to the value of over 300 million rands per year. This funding agreement had been in place with the city of Johannesburg since 2011 and had been extended several times by ESCOM. This agreement was to fund independent power production from Kelvin Power Station to offset great instability during load shedding. The last agreement signed in 2014 saw the city being paid more than 900 million rands over a 3-year period. In January 2017, this new multi-party government, we were informed that ESCOM had no intention of extending this agreement with the new administration in the city of Johannesburg, thus leaving our residents to foot the bill. The South African Revenue Services under former Commissioner Tom Moyane came next. In a long-standing dispute, South African Revenue Services bizarrely deemed the city power was not an organ of state, but rather a profit-making entity. This completely ignored the fact that City Power's mandate is to provide electricity to our residents on behalf of the city and its sole shareholder. Within a matter of months, after taking office, nearly 500 million rands was taken from City Power by South African Revenue Services. This matter is currently before the tax court, and we as a new multi-party government, we are very confident that we will win this case. The Department of Energy followed soon after. It had entered into a funding agreement with the city of Johannesburg under the previous ANC administration. It involved the department committing over 600 million rands in funding to the city for the electrification of incomplete housing developments. Upon taking office, this agreement ceased to exist, and the Department of Energy refused to honor payments to the city for funds we spent electrifying these developments. Next came MEC of Cocktown, MEC Uhuru Muila. Based on a complaint drafted by the ANC in Johannesburg, and without any objective consideration of the allegations made by his comrades, MEC Muila launched a Section 1061B investigation in the city of Johannesburg. Once promulgated by the Premier, this investigation will amount to a commission of inquiry into the city of Johannesburg. Empowered by the Municipal Systems Act, such an investigation is reserved for the most serious allegations of maladministration, as, if affirmed, would warrant the municipality in question being placed under administration by the provincial government. No process was followed. No effort was made to engage the city of Johannesburg to determine the veracity of the allegations made by his comrades in the ANC. The MEC simply proceeded to initiate this extreme approach. In November 2018, the city sent the MEC a comprehensive response refuting the allegations against the city. The MEC responded last week and advised that the city that he has considered our response but did not find it satisfactory. MEC Muila went in to inform the city that he is proceeding with Section 106 investigation, providing the city with no reasons whatsoever as to why he rejected our comprehensive response refuting allegations leveled against us by his comrades in the ANC. The city's attempts to engage the MC in good faith have been abused for purpose of box ticking. The allegation he wishes to investigate through this commission of inquiry includes the ANC's long-held line that the multi-party government has been paging senior employees. All senior officials dismissed under this administration have been implicated in serious wrongdoing and found guilty through an independent disciplinary hearings. Yet, this unsubstantiated, politically motivated allegation warrants a commission of inquiry as far as MEC is concerned. As mentioned earlier, Section 106 investigations are reserved for the most serious violations of governance principles that could lead to the municipality being placed under administration. It is abundantly clear that the MEC is abusing his office for political gain in the run-up to the upcoming elections. This disgraceful abuse of his position is not only irrational, but unlawful. It is for this reason that the city has appointed lawyers and is left with no other option but to approach the courts to stop this abuse of power. The city will be seeking court order against the MEC in his personal capacity, as his political point scoring is a build-up to the elections, cannot be at the expense of taxpayers and residents of the city of Johannesburg, which I represent. It is important to note that this is the exact same strategy that the former Premier of the Western Cape, Ibrahim Brasul, employed against Helen Zille's multi-party coalition in the city of Cape Town over a decade ago. In setting aside the former Premier's unlawful decision to institute Commission of Inquiry, the Western Cape High Court was driven to the conclusion that the purpose of the investigation was of an embarrassing political opponent. It would appear that the history is repeating itself here in the city of Johannesburg. It is worth noting at this point that in September 2018, Council resolved to discipline 3 ANC councillors for serious misconduct arising from Ethics Committee reports, which the Speaker has all the reports if you want to have access to them. Interestingly, one of these councillors that our council resolved to suspend is now leading the protest in Alexandra. Another matter involved a former MMC in the city who had employed a relative without qualification and without following due process. When the former MMC fell out with his relative, millions of our city's money were wasted on legal opinions and labor proceedings to address what was essentially fraudulently orchestrated HR process. The council approved resolution to terminate this councillor's appointment had to be sent to the MEC of Kokta for final determination. Nearly 7 months later, the MEC of Kokta has made no such determination, and the Speaker has really made several attempts to get him to act. I ask you to indulge me for one moment and consider how fast that determination would have been made had it been myself or one of my MMCs referred to by the MMC of Kokta. This is the very same MEC who doubles as the MEC of human settlements in the province, who reduced our human settlement development grant by 180 million rands at the end of 2018. No prior engagements around this decision was ever undertaken. No reasonable or rational basis for the decision existed. After a long and protracted fight, including the escalation of the matter to the presidency and threatening legal action, the province backtracked on its decision and had to publish a special provincial gazette reallocating funding to the city of Johannesburg. The next line of attack came from the Hawks, who are currently investigating me personally in respect of the Philben Foundation grant that was approved by our mayoral committee in this very same room. This matter arose from a budget lekhotla in early 2017. While receiving a presentation from our social development department on the strategy to combat to combat the scourge of drug abuse in Johannesburg, it was made clear that we needed to partner with NGOs in the city. I shared my personal knowledge of the Philben Foundation, which my family and I had been involved in and donated to for many years. This NGO has achieved great feats with vulnerable youth in our society and our country. I did this in an open platform in the presence of over 100 people from the city. I was not conflicted as I had resigned from this and every other directorship I held in January 2016, after which when I was selected as the mayoral candidate for the DA for the city of Johannesburg. The Social Development Department investigated the work of this NGO, and on the strength of a proposal submitted by this NGO, the department was suitably impressed to bring a report to the mayoral committee to partner with this organization. The Philben Foundation is an NGO which is well-renowned. It is now supported by various local, provincial, even national government departments here in South Africa, along with a variety of countries around the world. They specialize in identifying vulnerable youth from disadvantaged communities and through initiatives involving the arts, provide purpose to this youth. The funding increment entered into by the city was for 11 million rands over a 3-year period. When the report came to the mayoral committee, I again, in the presence of 30 to 40 people, spoke of my background with this organization prior to the approval of the grant funding. For this, the Hawks are now investigating me for corruption. Can you imagine in a country with institutional levels of corruption that a mayor suggesting a highly credible NGO to do critical work in protecting our youth from drugs is now the focus of the Hawks? This is absurd. The public protectors followed soon. The ANC later complained against the city with the public protector using the same allegations lodged with the MC of Kokta. The public protector subsequently used this complaint to institute an investigation into the affairs of the city of Johannesburg. This began in mid-2018, has involved multiple rounds of engagements where information has been sought from the city of Johannesburg. On each occasion, the city has responded with respect for the institution of the public protector with voluminous submissions that disapproves the allegations brought by the ANC in Johannesburg. In the latest round of engagements, questions have been sent to the city that demonstrate that our submissions have either been ignored or are misunderstood by the public protector. The nucleus of the public protector's investigations forms around challenging the appointment of key figures in the city who our multi-party government has come to rely on heavily. The first one being Dr. Ndivo Lukweri, our city manager. General Shadrach Sibia, who you all know, who heads our head of forensic. David Tembe, our chief of police. Isaac Mukhasha, our head of group legal. And Michael Beaumont, my chief of staff. All of whom are key to the success of this multi-party government's effort to deliver on our promise for change. The investigation targets me personally, alleging that my vendetta with Secure Engineering arises from my involvement with a rival company, which lost out on a tender. I sold all my interest in this rival company over 8 years ago, long before I ever contemplated standing for office, long before this government contract was tendered for. So, according to the line of questioning taken by the public protector, my issue with Secure Engineering has nothing to do with my commitment to deal with fraud and corruption. It has nothing to do with a company that submitted a fraudulent bank guarantee to the city or received over 88 million rands in payments for work hardly ever done. It has nothing to do with the people of El Dorado Park not having a substation that was paid for, which is desperately needed to service this community. According to this investigation, my interest in this matter relates to my involvement in a company that ended over 8 years ago, which subsequently competed with Secure Engineering for a tender in 2015, a tender which I had no knowledge of whatsoever. This is again absurd. It is clear to us that we are heading towards a report from the public protector that will be taken on review. Our legal team is ready for this. Another matter I'd like you to look into is the resignation of former Gauteng Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General De Lange. To this day, no real explanation has ever been provided for her sudden departure. What I can tell you is that from day one, General De Lange worked with our multi-party government and was committed to a shared strategy on policing. I have on good authority that General De Lange's departure had a lot to do with a willingness to work with the city of Johannesburg. Now, most recently, the President has proclaimed a special investigation unit, SIU, investigation into the city of Johannesburg. Before explaining this, let me share something with you. It is no secret that General Sibiya's unit has uncovered a staggering level of fraud and corruption in our city of Johannesburg. I'm sure we can all agree to the fact that over 4,000 cases under investigation involving more than 24 billion rands, with over 700 arrests effected to date. However, what has become clear to us is that the criminal justice system has deliberately frustrated any prospect of successful criminal prosecution. Almost weekly, we learn of cases that are either being dropped by the NPA or ignored by the SAPS and the WOCs. I wrote to President Ramaphosa in June 2018, providing him with details of some of the serious cases and requested his leadership in this regard. To date, I have not received a single reply from President Ramaphosa. Fast forward to today. President Ramaphosa has announced SIU's investigation into the city of Johannesburg. His statement cites contracts awarded by the previous ANC government and certain matters that have already been investigated by General Sibiya, resulting in criminal charges being laid. Our multi-party government has disciplined and dismissed those officials responsible, and are being severely pursued to recoup the money stolen. So why the need for the SIU investigation? The answer came the very next day in a press statement from the ANC in Johannesburg. In that press statement welcoming the SIU investigation was the following passage by the ANC, and I quote, "The ANC is particularly pleased because this comes at the back of submissions made by the ANC Johannesburg caucus to the SIU in early 2018. The SIU is not a body that can be approached to request an investigation of its own accord. Rather, the SIU is only empowered to investigate a matter following a presidential proclamation. They are not like the SAPS or other law enforcement agencies. They do not take meetings or receive submissions or listen to representations by anyone until the president has proclaimed an investigation. It is unheard of for the SIU to be engaged in this fashion prior to a presidential proclamation. This confession by the ANC in Johannesburg just serves to demonstrate how they are able to coordinate and influence the activities of law enforcement agencies, Chapter 9 institution, and even the SIU. The city has, however, advised the SIU that we will cooperate with our investigation. The SIU has advised the city that they will be sending us a letter of engagement detailing how the investigation will proceed. The city awaits this letter of engagement. What is of concern is that the city will need to foot the bill for this investigation if National Treasury does not exempt the city from this SIU expenses. This investigation will also be watched closely by the city to ensure that the ANC's stated wishes do not turn into a fishing expedition designed to distract and create instability in our city. I would like to remind you that the city of Johannesburg is achieving feats in the fight against fraud, corruption, and wrongdoing that has no equal across the local government landscape in our country, South Africa, today. As I've mentioned, our criminal justice system is failing the city of Johannesburg and its residents by delaying the prosecution of officials, politicians, tenderpreneurs who elected to steal public monies. I've written to the MPA head in Gauteng, Advocate Andrew Chauke, and our new National Director of Public Prosecution, Advocate Shamila Batoyi, to raise these concerns. I gave them until the 29th of March 2019 to provide the city with confirmation as to whether the cases provided to them will be prosecuted or not. I received a report which demonstrated case by case little to no progress made. One criminal matter involves the MMC for Housing, Councillor Dem Bovu, who allegedly sold state-owned land to vulnerable people within our society. This case was provisionally withdrawn from the roll as material witnesses were no longer prepared to testify. This was immediately trumpeted by the ANC in Johannesburg through a statement proclaiming Bovu's innocence. We later found out that the witnesses were paid to no longer testify against Bovu and his co-accused. One witness provided the city with a sworn affidavit to this effect, and it was then submitted to the NPA. Furthermore, it was discovered that the witnesses were paid from a trust linked to Den Bovu, the very same trust which the alleged payments for the land were originally made. It has been over a year since this clearly prosecutable case was withdrawn, and the city is informed that investigations are ongoing. Another case which illustrates the NPA's apparent unwillingness to prosecute serious criminality brought forward by the city was the withdrawal of the case against the directors of Secure Engineering, which I referred to earlier on. The directors were arrested in 2017 after having allegedly colluded with City Power officials. They received payments exceeding 88 million rands for uncompleted work in the building of El Dorado Park substation and the refurbishment of the Hopefield substation. City Power officials had colluded with the company by signing job cards which fraudulently suggested the work had been completed. In 2017, I personally handed the acting head of the works the financial records of an estimated 28 fraudulent payments made to this company, Secure Engineering, as well as details of the fraudulent bank guarantee they provided to City Power. The city spent a substantial amount of money when it appointed an external service provider to assist GIVers with the investigation. The forensic investigation report was also provided in the hope of strengthening the case, but these efforts proved fruitless. In council last year, I was informed by none other than ANC former MMC responsible for City Power, Councillor Tsidi Mfikwe, that the MPA had withdrawn the case in court that very same morning that the council was sitting. Councillor Mfikwe's immediate knowledge and jubilation at the withdrawal of this criminal case, coupled with the NPA's non-communication with the City of Johannesburg as the complainant in this matter, made this highly suspicious. To date, this matter has not been enrolled in court despite overwhelming evidence in this regard. These are two examples of numerous city matters that have given due diligence deference by the NPA. Currently, the NPA have committed to communicate with their decision on whether they will be prosecuting a number of criminal matters provided to them by the city by 30th of April 2019, and we've accepted it. In this respect, I've made my intentions very clear. Should the NPA decline to prosecute any of these cases, I will be applying for a nolli prosecutor certificate and thereafter pursue private prosecution against all these people who've stolen public monies. I'm taking this approach because the fight against fraud and corruption will never be won unless those implicated face their day in court. This multi-government that I lead will not rest until those who have looted our city are eventually in prison. What has become abundantly clear to us in the city of Johannesburg is that our work is posing a serious threat to the politically connected people within the ANC. When we deliver services to previously forgotten people in our communities, unfortunately, it threatens the ANC. When Johannesburg sees the creation of 110,000 new jobs in 2018 alone, it unfortunately threatens the ANC. When we investigate cases of fraud and corruption, unfortunately, it threatens the ANC. Their response is to weaponize the state against our multi-party government. Have you ever heard of a municipality that is simultaneously being investigated by the SIU, the Public Protector, the Hawks, the MEC of Cocta? So the city of Johannesburg is actually making history, as the people of Johannesburg made history on the 3rd of August. All of which are being based, these investigations, on unsubstantiated allegations made by the ANC caucus in the city of Johannesburg. I would like to use this platform to deliver two very clear messages. To the residents of Johannesburg, firstly, the multi-party government will not flinch in its dedication to improving service delivery, stimulating job creation, and fighting against fraud and corruption. We will not, even for a single moment, allow these efforts to destroy the multi-party government, to distract the mandate you have given us for change. Those who wish to destroy us, I want you to listen, and I want you to listen very carefully. I was born under the oppressive thumb of apartheid, and I thrived when the likes of P.W. Botha said I was not allowed to strive. I was not afraid then, and I will never fear criminals now. My grandfather taught me not to be afraid of criminals. You know where my offices are. You know where my home is. I welcome you to come and arrest me. And in fact, I plead with you to come and arrest me. I have come to appreciate the value of an open court of law where the truth will prevail. I would love the opportunity to demonstrate how you fail to deal with actual criminality while targeting government for political ends. I look forward to it. I just hope you are ready for the fight that will follow thereafter. And I'd like to thank you very much for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Executive. We will now take a round of questions on the start from this side of the room and come into the side. Question one, there's a question 2 or 3. This question,
Hi, Mr. Mayor, my name is Malungelo Bue from ENCA. I want to take you to page 2 of your statement where you talk about Alexandra, about how you care deeply about the people there and the conditions that they live under and that they have been lied to for many years, as you say. My question to you, if you care deeply about the people of Alexandra, why have you not been to Alexandra?
Nalungelo, just to answer, yes, obviously already demonstrated here. Upon taking over this government, we were aware of a memorandum of intent signed by the ANC in a big party in Alexandra, where the city of Johannesburg was committed to implement a program to change the face of Alexandra. Signed by the city of Johannesburg, the province, and community organizations in Alexandra. I tried on various occasions. The Speaker and I were inundated from 2016 up to today by the signatories of this agreement. We said to them, the city of Johannesburg is an implementer of this agreement. So we promised the people of Alexandra that let us get the province, because they are the ones in the memorandum promised to provide the necessary funding. Our efforts, please ask the MEC, former MEC Mashatile, ask the Premier of the province, ask the Muila, ask the former Minister of Housing, Minister Sisulu. If there's any community that this government has engaged with ever since we took over, the community of Alexandra. But they have been calling for you. Why didn't you go? Well, look, I think you also need to really learn to listen and listen to the facts. Don't really obviously listen to your own views. We are telling you what we've really done. I run a city where our people throughout the city don't have toilets, don't have facilities, over 200 informal settlements. So my diary on a daily basis, full to attend to the residents of the city of Johannesburg throughout. Right now, I'm in the middle of the budget process where by legislation, I have to go and engage the communities on my IDP session. People of Alexandra are very much aware about the date because this date are published long in advance. Right now I'm engaging other communities to share with them the budget. When we go out and share with the residents, we don't really go and share lies to them. We share with them what's contained in the budget. So all of a sudden, this matter comes out. And I'd really ask you, as a journalist and an investigative journalist, please go and see the people. Go and do an investigation of one or two of the people who are the leaders of this movement. Then you satisfy yourself, and then you're most welcome to then come and engage me further than with this.
Malungelo, can I just cut you off? We're going to give other people opportunity. We'll come back to you. Any other further questions? Is there none? Are satisfied?
Yes, I'll take. My name is Tina from the Citizen newspaper. Just two things to clarify. Are you going on Friday to Alexandra, firstly? And what about the visit on Thursday by Cyril Ramaphosa? Will you join the meeting as well?
As soon as I learned yesterday morning on my way to the office that the president is visiting Alexandra on Thursday. In fact, starting from last week already, when the president was on a campaign trail with Makura and Jeff Makubu, they were on a campaign trail in Zanspruit. The president made a statement that I must go to Alexandra and go and listen to the people of Alexandra. I immediately invited the president to say, Mr. President, I've been engaging your government for the last 2 years. Please let us go to the people of Alexandra, because the people of Alexandra require 3 spheres of government. They need the local government, they need the province, they need national government. Because all of you in this room cannot deny or can tell me that you're not aware about the Alexandra Renewal Project that the ANC government promised the people of Alexandra. I don't believe there's anyone in this room who can tell me is not aware of the statement of intent, because you attended that function, you covered it quite widely. So even yesterday when I learned the president is now all of a sudden going to Alexandra, I said, the president, I'm happy to join you, so that all 3 spheres of government, ask Makura, let us go and explain. I will explain and talk to the people of Alexandra about our 2 years in government. Then you and Premier Makura can then explain to the people of Alexandra about the 20 years of ANC government. I'm still awaiting the response. So it's already the Tuesday is going on Thursday. I'm awaiting his response. And as is the city of Johannesburg, we are glad to show anyone what we've done for the people of Alexandra. Talk to people who are the signatories to this statement of intent. Their engagement with the speaker and I over many years, asking for our intervention. So we are ready anytime, but we cannot go out to go and explain to people of Alexandra around the Alexandra Renewal Project. We cannot go on our own to people of Alexandra around the statement of intent.
But why did you have to wait until the president decided to go for you to decide?
No, I've already made it clear last week that we are going to Alexandra. We've got a planned IDP session on the 15th. So we will address this. On Thursday, working with and invited the Human Rights Commission, and we invited even with you, the press, to come and really be the witnesses. As you are aware, I'm running the IDP sessions, and I'm sure you understand the IDP sessions, the preparations that must go towards that. Because when you put together a budget, the law in this country demands and requires you to ensure that you engage society. It's not something that you can just really miss. So people of Alexandra, including the ANC councillors, who are the leaders of this march, including the people, officials who were part of the Alexandra Renewal Project, who are the leaders of this march, they know very well that we are coming on the 15th some time ago, that we've got a planned official IDP session where we can take people of Alexandra in terms of what this government can do, not what we can really go and lie to the people of Alexandra.
Before we take the 2 questions back, you noted, we'll take those 2, then we'll come back to that. Just want to give the speaker a moment to know who wants to comment.
So I think it's quite important to understand the agreement that was signed before the 2016 election.
No, it's fine.
And it was right at the brink of the 2016 election. The ANC at that time had a lot of negative publicity around the Alex renewal projects, if you understand. And it was quite essential for the ANC government, including province and national, to sign an agreement that basically binds the city to over 2 billion rand.
No, we know that.
And remember that over the 20 years before 2016, that the ANC had this project, the Alex Renewal project, but a lot of wastage went into whatever they produced. Yes, there has been good work, but half of the money that was spent in Alex was wasted.
Stolen.
And in fact, the residents of Alex wanted to know, we are the original residents. What are you doing with our properties? You gave us 50,000 rand for our properties. It's not enough. Where do we go and buy properties that will equal 50,000 rand? You know that property in Alexandra is, and Alexandra being opposite center, should at least be around 200,000. What do you do with 50,000? Can you go and buy property outside Alexandra for that money? And that's why the insistence of the residents was that please better that or pay us the equal prices for the properties that are in center. In other words, property values would have been the ideal situation to resolve the issues within Alex. And unfortunately, the ANC has forced us to in fact try and deal with the situation that they've created. Where would the city of Johannesburg have gotten the 2 billion rand from after the elections? Yes, service delivery, as you know, refuse removal, and the MMC will confirm, is a daily service within Alex. Councillors have the opportunity to ask questions within council. They haven't done that. They are leading a march where they know they are responsible to highlight certain issues to the city. There has been no communication between councillors and the Speaker's office. They know where to lodge complaints. They haven't. This was the first communication that we've received. Very late. In fact, this was faxed to me last week from the regional director. A list of complaints that was obviously from 105, Ward 105. There is no other complaints before last week that I could trace from any councillor in Alexandra. But they are leading a march on service delivery. And I hope you understand where the city stands on this. There is a planned IDP session on the 15th, and the mayor is correct. Should you go and respond to a political campaign around service delivery that you know that the ANC government in fact messed up before 2016?
Can I just come in here, fellow South Africans? I think let us be honest with one another. I think this politicking is what has actually put us here. I think you as the media, as fellow residents, have got a responsibility to assist in protecting this hard-fought democracy. It baffles my mind when I can have professional people with the responsibility as a media to protect our democracy. Please, I find it difficult, very strange, that no one has actually ever looked at that statement of intent signed in June 2016 before election. You covered that event extensively. Did you see how that statement was drafted in the first place, the quality of the statement? No date ever put, not a single name of a person. The only thing you see is the city of Johannesburg logo and Gauteng province. No date. Serious document like that, making it to the community. And here in this country where the media has played such a crucial role to get us to this democracy, where the media has got such a crucial role at the same time to ensure that this democracy is protected. I've made this document so many times available to you. I thought one day I'll get someone actually questioning this document to say, but what type of document is this? With no signature or whatever. Sorry, with no date. So I mean, this just really demonstrates that that party that you attended and you covered extensively, giving hope to the people of Alexandra, was just really PR exercise to promise people of Alexandra to vote. And people of Alexandra voted for the ANC councillors most of the time because they were promised and they believed the ANC government. But I'm saying it's journalists who obviously you are supposed to do. I'm really totally surprised, and I'm asking you, please go and study that document and you tell me the credibility of that document.
Colleagues, I can't see the people that could.
And what I also find very strange is that all the issues around how this government has been sabotaged, it is not the one taking into, because all these issues I've raised, this is not the first time I've raised them. Crisis being withdrawn, billions of monies of our people being stolen, including actually having to really go to the US the criminal justice system to assist us. No interest in these matters. This is not important. What is important is Mayor going to Alexandra.
Yeah, very important.
Okay, thank you.
If you could just, I can't see it because of the camera. If you could just introduce yourself so that the panel can, if they can't see it, at least they know who they are. And then what we will do, because there are a couple of hands now, we will, Mani, you're still noted. So we'll
Thank
go
you.
We'll go two at the back, Mani, then the council, and then you at the back. That's more or less in order that people ask for. If I can ask the lady at the back to speak.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, my name is Natasha. I'm from the Mail and Guardian newspaper. In 2012, the DA conducted a survey on the Alex Renewal Project in Gauteng. It was conducted by MPL Mike Moriarty, which found that 99% of the residents of Alex did not feel that the project was yielding any results. Your party has acknowledged this. Your party did the survey. It is now 2016, and I understand that you've only been in government for 2 years. It's perfectly natural that it's not your fault that the situation is as dire as it is. I also understand the cooperative governance system. But Mr. Mayor, could you not show leadership and make the residents of Alex recognize that you are in charge of the city? At the moment, the perception out there is that you're not in charge, is that you are not the government for the people of the city of Alexandra. And this is not a politician's remark or a councillor's remark. It is what the people on the ground are saying. Thank you.
Okay, that's the first question. Mr. Victory, and then we'll do. The second one, inside your seat, can I help you there?
Okay, thank you. It's Wisani Makubele, SABC Radio News. Mayor, some of the complaints that we are hearing is that there is no response from the city when people, for example, report that illegal structures are being erected. Secondly, there are also complaints about a refuse removal that is not being done, and that surely is the competence of the city. And I understand that you have set a date to go and address the residents whenever, but when people are protesting and things are coming to a standstill, don't you think it's necessary to go and talk to them? Because one of the things they are saying is that do not address us through the media. So the time that you are taking, for example, like now, couldn't you go there and say, I understand your concerns, maybe I can engage you briefly, I'll come back and talk more extensively about your issues. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take the last one because I promised Mani a question. Mani, please go.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, you keep on saying it's politicking that what's happening in Alexandra. Fair enough. But are you not fueling it by simply not going there? Why don't you, after this press conference, and go to Alex and talk to the people of Alexandra who want to talk to you, Mayor? From the start, they said they wanted to speak to Mayor Herman Mashaba. And the issues that they're talking about refuse collection, best water pipes. That's the competency of the city of Johannesburg, the city you run, Mr. Mayor. Why don't you, after this press conference, go to Alexandra? And then we stop this politicking that you say is happening.
Let me deal, obviously all your questions are interrelated. With the investigation that the lady from Daily Maverick that DA conducted, it is for that reason I'm committed. I'm saying is we will address this on the 15th. When this matter came to attention, on that day I had commitments. I sent one of my senior member of mayoral committee to go and receive the memo. Like it happens all the time, all over the world. Nothing completely unique. What happened? MMC Sanam is fortunately here. He was abused, racially abused, in front of cameras. Unheard of in the world that you all of a sudden hear of a protest, and the people are protesting. You've got engagement, you've got a city to run, and you know very well the people of Alexandra, they've got ward councillors. The Speaker of Council is here to say that the councillors ever brought any matter to your attention of such serious nature. Here's the Speaker, unless you are saying the Speaker is talking nonsense. They abused him, racially abused him. As South Africans, is this matter not really serious? That's why I'm saying, and I challenge you to say, look at the people who are behind this. Look at yesterday's march to our offices in Centre. It was the way it was actually projected. It was Alexandra went out to our offices. How many people were there who went to our offices in Alexandra? You were there, you covered the event. But the way it was covered as if the entire Alexandra went out. That's how it is projected. Read the media, follow. If you're not in South Africa or you're not there, you would think the entire Alexandra went out. Who are the spokespeople of this? So that is why I'm saying is, please, as journalists, do investigation on some of these issues that we are raising, because of the fact that we cannot really be disrupted. I mean, one of your journalists yesterday from your
yes, ENCA.
I could not really believe, as a new administration, when you took over this government, the ANC government budget, which was passed before our time, we had to run with that budget. They had a housing grant of 411 billion rand. Today, the city of Johannesburg has got the highest housing backlog throughout the country, over 300,000. Today, we're sitting with 245 million. Even the 245 million, ABC Muila, last year, before even half year, wanted to reduce it by 180 million. Are these issues of no interest to you? As if we're not interested with the people of Alexandra. We've issued a statement to demonstrate how much money we spent in Alexandra. But at the end of the day, we're a city with 170 billion rands infrastructure backlog. Housing is not the competency of the city of Johannesburg. It is for that reason, we as a multi-party government, we said we are not going to allow ANC government to sabotage us. That's why we then came out with the inner city plan, which was passed by council with the ANC not happy with it. We took, as a multi-party government, we are going to look to identify pieces of land where we can provide services and put our people there and give them title deeds to us. And yesterday, I'm told by journalists that is not important. I can't believe it. People of Vlakfontein were actually quite shocked that they are not important. Made arrangement not yesterday, not a week ago. Now, so what you are saying is, I must focus on violent protest. When our communities we are taking steps to ensure that we can address housing, because we have realized with the ANC government in charge, they're going to keep on frustrating. But we've given a commitment. The city of Johannesburg is going to provide housing to our people, with or without ANC, they're lacking it. We are going to provide affordable accommodation to our people. We are going to provide the student accommodation, working with the private sector, so that people of Alexandra don't have to really live under the conditions they live under right now. But we don't have the money as a city. 245 million rands to provide housing for the entire city, not just Alexandra. So do you expect me, I must go and promise people of Alexandra that I'm going to give them houses with 245 million rands? 200, we've got over 200 informal settlements. So housing, it's a huge challenge. The city attracts a minimum of 3,000 people every single month, because people are under impression Johannesburg is a city of golden opportunities. And what about all the sabotage that you are seeing? It's not important. People of the Vlakfontein are not important. People of Zandspruit are not important. People of Soweto are not important. I can assure you they are important to us and this administration, including people of Alexandra. It is for that reason, from the moment we took over, the CM and the Speaker of Council and I engaged some of the signatories to this. But we said to them, let us get the province and national government, because they are the ones who must fund. Us as a new administration, our role is to implement, and we are ready to implement. Everything fell on deaf ears. And I find it extremely bizarre, really very bizarre, that the media is not interested in this. But fortunate enough, yesterday's march to our offices in Sandton, I'm sure you look at yourself and reflect whether Alexandra went out to go and demonstrate or not.
Colleagues, if I could
And I think, let me deal with the question of the service delivery on this. You know, Alexandra, unlike places in Sandton and Bryanston, we've got full-time people cleaning the place daily, full-time. Alexandra City pick it up like we did when we took over this administration. Because of the density of the people, we've got people on a full-time basis, picks up stuff there on a daily basis. And we've got ANC ward councillors that obviously if there are issues, they must bring them to our attention. But obviously what they opt to do is not to come to council. You know, the last council meeting where I was presenting the audited financials from Auditor General, the entire ANC caucus did not show up and lied to the Speaker that they've got personal matters. The Speaker can tell you, and you, the media, you know where they were. Are these not matters of concern to you as the media to make sure that this democracy succeeds, that this country succeeds? Because without Johannesburg succeeding, this country is not going to succeed. And these are things that you as journalists, you've been trained to make sure that I think you really look at things beyond what the eye can see. And this is what you are trying to really do, to open your eyes. But I think it's up to you to really decide. We can only share what we can share. And one thing for sure, I live with a very strong belief, a very strong one for that matter. Fortunate enough, the truth always prevails.
Colleagues, I just want to reiterate in terms of the questions about Alex and the mayor's actually going there. I think it's been asked and answered. I'd like to give preference to people who are not going to repeat that question, because in the last one we got the same question 3 times. But obviously the mayor is still going to be here if people want to do one-on-ones to go in depth into the Alex issue in particular. That being said, is there another round of questions? I'll take from the lady there, from the gentleman over there, and the gentleman over there.
Thank you very much. My name is Intemsen Sadiki from Alexandra. Mr. Mayor, you just mentioned that there is wasteful removal in Alexandra each and every day, but there is rubble at every corner of Alexandra. What do you say about that? That simply means that Pick It Up is not doing its job correctly. And then number 2, you mentioned on page 4 that there is a councillor who is currently leading the Alex shutdown and that was suspended. Who is that councillor and what was he suspended for? And then number 3, one of the DA councillors in Ward 109, Councillor Bradma Smith, resigned recently, saying that one of his reasons of resigning was that he's not getting any possible, a positive response rather, from the city. What are you saying about that as a councillor? And also about the Alcoa matter, I believe that there is a court order against the city that was issued by Alcoa in 2012. Are you aware of that court order?
Colleagues, if I could just open
You want to attend to respond to that?
So
let the speaker respond to her.
We'll let the panel respond.
Yes, ma'am.
If I can remind everyone again, one question at a time. We will come back to you. We're not running anywhere. All right.
I've got to respond to the issue of the councillor. The councillor that is leading the protest is Councillor Rapadu. You all know that. And he is responsible for Ward 105.
Yeah, 105.
Yes. Councillor Rapadu with 2 other councillors have been suspended, not suspended, but there was an investigation on allegations of improper behavior and a whole lot of other things on 3 councillors. Councillor Mukuna, the previous...
Mukwena.
Yes, Mukwena, the previous MEC for local government in Gauteng, brought a complaint to the Speaker's office. That was investigated through the ethics committee. They took a decision and in October brought a report to council, where council actually took a decision to refer those matters to the MEC. MEC Manoa. We then forwarded that investigation to the MEC and recommendations that council took. The first communication between the city, my office, and the MEC was on the 5th of September last year, 2018. We are now sitting 7 months later, as the mayor said, with the MEC not having responded, number 1. And there was a lot of follow-ups after that. On the 14th of September, a notice came out. The investigation into the alleged breach of conduct of Councillor Mukuna was also forwarded to him. On the 17th of September, a letter to the MEC of Kokta, and the outcome of the investigations was sent to him. He's not responded on that. The copies were hand-delivered to him, and obviously council started pressurizing the Speaker on when we are going to receive the outcome, not only of the MEC's decision, because remember that council can only recommend to the MEC. And these cases one case in particular is about corruption on Councillor Mukuna. And the recommendation from council is basically that she be fired as a councillor in the city.
And criminal charges be laid.
Yes. And if the MEC cannot take decisions during a 7-month period, what else are they able to do? And you've heard the mayor talking about other councillors. Councillor Bovu, there is Councillor Rapadu, which was also supposed to be suspended for 7 months. And that decision has not yet been taken. So you can understand the frustration of the city when you see that councillors are doing what they are not supposed to do. Lead protests against the city instead of talking to the entities. Councillor De Jager is sitting right next to you, responsible for Region E. He's got a monthly meeting where these councillors are supposed to engage with them, telling them what the service delivery problems are within the area, and through the administration, take action in ensuring that those service delivery problems are addressed on a monthly basis. And them rather choosing just before the 8th of May to in fact come up with a trumped up protest to deal with issues that councillors can normally deal with through the administration. You can understand our frustration that provincial government through the MEC is not taking action to ensure that the disciplinary processes that are legislated, in fact, is acted on.
Yeah, I think, Mema, I would agree with you. I think regarding, I really, I have discussions on a regular basis with my wife around, not just Alexandra, the city centre, Yeoville, and so forth, around the level of filthiness and where we've deployed people on a full-time basis. That I think one needs to really come out with a plan. That's why we launched the RSA program when we took over this administration, because we need environmental training. I really feel sorry for these poor women and men who have to, because they are given a particular area to clean, they do the round. An hour later they come back, the place is same as, back to square one. Unlike obviously in other communities where I live, refuse is collected once a week. It's collected once a week. Put the stuff in the bin and then on a Friday take it out. Afternoon, pick it up, comes out. In Alexandra and other areas, obviously it's a challenge that we need to really find a solution, because obviously the volume of the people are there. And I think for us and for me as an employer, I also really feel terrible. I feel bad for people who you'll feel discouraged, that you can imagine you're given an area to clean. An hour later when you go back, it's already as filthy as it was before. So it is a challenge, and I'd really admit we need to really find a solution, and I'm hoping that RSA it's a program that can assist in environmental training. When I launched, I conceived the idea of RSA, I went to the Premier's office to say to the Premier, how do you work in a city like this? You've worked in the city for a long time. Look at how filthy it is. We as a new administration, we thought of coming out with a monthly cleaning campaign so that there can be environmental training and education. The Premier said, like the idea, I'll be with you. When are you launching? Invited him to the launch. I can give you a copy of the launch. Has he been to one of them? I don't know how they feel as a provincial government. They work in this city for the last 20 years. They've seen it actually deteriorate to this level. But they refused. ANC councillors, they have been given instructions not to participate in RSA in their wards. Councillor of the ANC, Councillor Zulu, just resigned from the ANC a month ago. Because of why? This councillor worked with us on one day in his region, Ward 50. And he had to really pay a price, created a problem and conflict between him and the ANC. ANC said to the councillors not to participate in RSA program. And I find it really very strange to the ANC. I said to the leadership, but gentlemen and women, it is your duty, it is your own communities. Get them involved in the cleaning. The people really be aware about this program, because this program is not a political program. This program is about the cleanliness in our areas. ANC, unfortunately, openly refused their councillors participating in RSA. So the problem is much deeper than what the eye can see. And I think it's up to you to also really open your eyes to see the reality. That's why I've taken a decision to share this with you, so that you can really see the level of sabotage that we're going through. But really what makes me now cross and actually say to South Africa and the ANC government to say, look, you know what, you are most welcome. As Esaf's indicated, I was born in 1959. I was born a year before, the year after H.F. Verwoerd took over. My grandfather taught me to be strong and be a man of principle and stand for the right and wrong. I must not look for shortcuts in life. And I'm not really looking for shortcuts in life. And my grandfather taught me not to lie to people. And that is something every time I go into the community meeting, if I don't have money to deliver a certain project, people would rather be angry with me than for me to really make a promise to make a lie to them. And I can assure you, at the principles, as I get older, fortunate enough, I'm nearer to the grave than anything else. And so I have no chance to rely. So the older I get, the stronger I get in terms of principles, and I don't care who it is. I stand for the principles. So nothing is going to really make me move. So people of Alexandra, we care about them. We have tried, as I've indicated, they are the in terms of looking at the 5 million residents of the city of Johannesburg. As new administration in the 2.5 years, people of Alexandra, people who are signatories to that, they will tell you they've engaged with us. They know that the province has been refusing to meet. And fortunate enough, they're coming to us. In fact, I'm happy to preempt this to you. Tomorrow, I'm releasing a statement. I am going to do a comprehensive investigation, forensic investigation on what happened to the Alexandra Renewal Project money. And also, I'm going to investigate all the people behind this protest. I'm going to investigate the reasons behind this statement of intent. All those people who signed, what was the intention? Why are they refusing to? So I can tell you, I will be making the announcement, I'm preempting you. People of Alexandra can assure you them that the money that was meant to actually better their lives, we are going to go deep into that. All these people, criminal elements involved in this matter, will be exposed, will be prosecuted. Yes, we understand under ANC government they will be protected. And I want the ANC, like they did with Agrisis and others, that you name ANC in corruption, you get arrested. I'm asking them, I'll be like Agrisis, I'll be waiting for them. Even this afternoon, they're most welcome to come and arrest me for exposing their corruption. We are going to expose it and expose it even further.
I noted a question at the back, and the gentleman over there, are you captured if
Mr. Mayor, isn't it part of your job that when part of your seat is being, should abandon some of your projects and rush it? Because I think that should be part of your job. Now, as I spend time in Alexandra, we have witnessed that Alexandra is among the filthiest townships in South Africa. Number one is the issue of waste removal. I'm trying to explain why waste not removed. Number two, among those people who complain is that the illegal building of houses or sheds on the pavements, which is something that is against the bylaws. Number three is the mushrooming of grabbing of illegal things. And what the people are saying is that the EFF, which happen to be the partners of the DA in this municipality, are encouraging or condoning people to grab land. And some are saying that your failure to go there is that some of the questions we asked against you is that how are you going to account as your partners encouraging people to grab land? Now my question is simple. Why, as the mayor, didn't you abandon one? I mean, you're giving Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday, Saturday, Sunday. You get an opportunity, Mr. Mayor, to go and address the city of Alexandra. Even if they would have rebuked or insulted or changed your way, you would have tried. But now the other pertinent issue is the implementation of bylaws. It seems there are no bylaws that are implemented in Alexandra. Hence things are happening haphazardly, nilly-willy, as anyone wishes to do so, because they are putting the blame right at the doorstep of your government.
once again, colleagues, I repeat, some questions have been asked again. This is the fourth question of the same direction. So, but it's an important question, I get that. But like I said, we can do that on one-on-ones. I want to give opportunity for anything else that comes to the statement, and then the mayor will stick around and will do one-on-ones with anyone who has specific questions of that nature. Is there another round of questions, or are we almost ready to wrap up? One more. Cool, thank you.
Hi, Salvatore from Kent. Mr. Mayor, are you afraid of going to
I've never been afraid of going anywhere in my country, and more especially with the job that I do. I have the freedom, like any other citizen in this country, to go anywhere else. But at the same time, I think one needs to understand the agenda behind this. When this issue came to our attention, on the very same day, I sent MEC, one of the senior members of my government. Were you not there to look at how he was treated?
We were there.
No,
it was insulted.
and racially abused.
Yes.
And this, as South Africans, with a constitutional framework of our country, it disturbs me that South Africans are not interested that a fellow South African can be abused in front of the media, and is a non-issue. And these are things that informs one to say, but something is wrong to correct here. So what is their agenda behind this? Because we receive memorandums, we receive petitions every single day. We're sitting with a city of over 200 informal settlements. More than 200 settlements. Right now, I've got a challenge of providing toilets to lots of communities. We have not had toilets since 1990. I was in an IDP session in Rabi Ridge on Saturday. During my presentation, I asked the community about how many of them have got ablution facilities. I can assure you, almost 40% of the people raise their hands that they don't have ablution facilities. In Rabi Ridge, people have been there since the early 90s, When I took over this administration, I did a study that some of you as journalists attended to demonstrate the level of backlog that we are sitting with. 170 billion rands, and we had to get the Treasury to actually confirm on this. So the challenge that we are sitting with is not an Alexandra problem, it's not a Flatfontein problem, it's not a Rabi Ridge, it's a citywide challenge. But now, when you've got a trumped up protest, taking advantage of the lived experiences of our people, because the living conditions of our people in Alexandra, it's totally unacceptable. But then you use it for political reasons, and the mayor hears about this, immediately deploys one of his senior members to say, please, when you receive this memorandum on my behalf, and how he was treated. I don't mind being heckled and whatever, but to be insulted along racial lines, I'm afraid, fellow South Africans, I take this personally. I take this personally because I was born under an apartheid racial system, and I'm not going to sit back here and allow another South African abuse my fellow South African and keep quiet about it. More especially a public servant, someone dedicated to serving this, and we keep quiet about it. That's why I've actually written to the Chinese embassy. I've written a letter to the Chinese people all over the world to apologize to them. I've written a letter to Chinese all over the world. What the ANC government, because it's the councillors of ANC who dropped us, to apologize to them. That is not the people of Johannesburg. But Obviously, the media in this country is not taking it up, but the international media, fortunately enough, has got interest in this matter to understand how this country is actually evolving. So we are sensitive about this. We're concerned about the plight of the people of Alexandra. That's why we are driving to ensure that things that we can control, because more especially housing, for anybody to be able to deal with Alexandra, you have to deal with housing backlog. You're not going to deal with Alexandra if you're not going to deal with the housing provision, because the number of people per square meter in Alexandra is totally unacceptable. It's totally high. That is why, without the support of the province, when I developed this plan, before taking it to council, I shared this with the Premier. I said, the Premier, this country does not have money to provide housing for our people. This is the plan I've got. He endorsed it. He says, Mayor, you've got our full support. It was just in wait. But fortunately enough, the City Council of Johannesburg is supporting this. End of February, the last council meeting, when ANC councillors did not show up because they thought we would not have the quorum. Council, we had enough to pass additional 70 buildings and properties so that we can get the private sector to build affordable accommodation for our people and student accommodation, things that we can control. So if ANC they have an impression that they will collapse this government, make it difficult for us, or impossible and collapse it, I can assure you, we were not born yesterday.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, before you continue, before we turn this session to another Jesse Tuart and some kind of session, you respond to my questions about implementations of bylaws and the issue of land grabbing, which is allegedly fueled by the EFF, who happens to be partners of the DA in this municipality. Those are some of the issues that were raised, and I wanted to get a response from you. Thank you very much.
I think the colleagues, I'm not a spokesperson for the EFF, but I think it's an insult, honestly, to you to say that the EFF is behind the land.
No, it's an allegation.
It's an allegation. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It is an insult against the EFF. You know the courts in this country. Every time you want to ready to move someone, you've got to find an alternative accommodation. And if you look at the number of people coming into the city every month, 3,000 people coming out into the city. In the meantime, what is the city's capacity to build the houses? So this is an issue that we can try and remove them. I can tell you the courts will get you the following day to put them up. But one thing that I've challenged, and I challenge you, all of you South Africans, since Cyril Ramaphosa was elected as president of ANC in December 2017, and ANC realizing that they're losing support of people who are looking for houses, and EFF came out with the land policy, and ANC decided they must destabilize the EFF. They adopted that. You look at land invasions, not just in the city of Johannesburg, it has escalated everywhere. Driven by who? To a large extent by the ANC. That is why in this administration, in the 2 years I've been in this government, 2 ANC councillors arrested, charged criminally for selling land. Not a single EFF councillor arrested for it. 2 ANC councillors, including former MMC Dan Bovo, councillor from ANC from the region in Ward 92, arrested for land grabs and selling land. And now, ANC, obviously, what they're trying to do, it's part of this plan. You will see when the full report comes out one of these days. The reasons behind this, because fortunately enough, people who've genuinely, people of Alexandra were the signatory to this memorandum of intent. They're coming out that they are concerned the project has been hijacked by the ANC. People are coming out every day, giving us information That is why on the information already available to me, I am going to have a forensic investigation, because people are damn scared about what political strategies that they are using. So I don't think it will really be fair to say it's the EFF. EFF is a big supporter of us as a city of Johannesburg to address housing properly. EFF was with me yesterday when we are allocating stands properly. We declared as the city-owned land properly as a human settlement. We were giving people stands and make sure that within the next few months we can give them title deed. EFF was there with me speaking to the community. Was ANC there? Not a single ANC, the councillor came. So I think let us not really apportion the blame and listen to the ANC lies. The ANC right now, their plan is to collapse this government like they did with apartheid government. Let ANC understand they are now dealing with fellow South Africans who are not fast asleep, and our people are not going to be abused. They've abused them for 25 years. Because I really wonder, the 27th of April, ANC right now, as we speak, they're busy preparing big parties to celebrate 27 years of democracy. And I wonder the forgotten people of Alexandra, Zandspruit, Vlakfontein, what is there for them to celebrate?
Got it. We're going to wrap the Q&A now. The mayor will stick around to do any final nitty questions that anyone has. But we'll officially wrap at this point. Stick around.
Can't do it yet. Can't do it outside. We'll do it outside.
Thank you very much.
You mean outside?
Yeah.
So we have to do it like at Krokos.
Yeah.
This is going. The thing is, there's a way to answer someone, just take his time.
Yeah. Let me go and ask him again. Let me go and ask him again, Heaven. Just